Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we unravel the astonishing tale of a 2005 1-cent coin that has left collectors, historians, and numismatists stunned across the globe, as this seemingly ordinary penny has rocketed in value to a jaw-dropping $124 million due to its extraordinary errors, peculiar minting anomalies, and historical significance that have propelled it into the limelight as one of the rarest and most sought-after coins in modern US history, a coin that holds not only monetary value but also the weight of a story that weaves through government mints, curious collectors, accidental discoveries, and the unearthing of a treasure so rare that it has become the stuff of legends in the world of numismatics. And to truly understand how a copper-plated zinc coin initially intended for circulation at the face value of 1 cent can end up commanding such an astronomical price tag, we need to dive deep into the very core of what went wrong, or what went right, depending on your point of view, with the minting process, beginning with the strange and rare combination of misstrikes that started it all, including a highly unusual double die obverse which caused the year date, Liberty inscription, and even Lincoln's eye and jawline to appear doubled in a ghostly, offset fashion that baffled early examiners of the coin. And while doubled dies are not entirely uncommon, the intensity and precision of the doubling on this particular coin surpassed anything seen from the Denver or Philadelphia mint in the early 2000s, sparking rumors that perhaps a rogue engraver had intentionally altered the hub used in the die pressing process. Yet further analysis indicated that the error was most likely the result of a rare machine malfunction during die creation, compounded by the fact that the planchette itself was improperly alloyed, revealing that this coin did not feature the usual uniform copper-plated zinc core but instead carried mysterious traces of experimental metals such as manganese and nickel in tiny, barely detectable quantities, suggesting that the blank may have been part of a secretive test batch intended for foreign coinage or special mint experimentation that was mistakenly used in the mainstream production run. And the plot thickens when you examine the coin under magnification and find microblistering in certain areas of Lincoln's coat and the memorial reverse, evidence of improper annealing where the blank planchette was not correctly heated before striking, causing tiny bubbles and surface inconsistencies that would not normally escape quality control at the US Mint. And yet somehow this coin did, possibly due to the chaos of a shift change, equipment failure, or a rushed production schedule to meet circulation quotas in 2005. But the mysteries do not end there, because the reverse of the coin is where the real anomaly begins to shine, as instead of the expected Lincoln Memorial design, this specimen exhibits a distorted, partial transition pattern that seems to contain elements from a commemorative prototype which was never meant for public release. A faint outline of wheat stalks from an earlier cent design merged haphazardly with the memorial architecture in a way that no known cent has officially recorded, leading to speculation that this coin was struck with a mismatched die pair, or even more intriguingly, with a hybrid die created accidentally during the swap out of old commemorative dies at the mint. And adding to the lore surrounding this coin is its bizarre coloration, not the typical reddish copper glow or the dull zinc of circulated cents, but a chameleon-like hue that shifts subtly in the light from bronze to a near-purple sheen, due to the chemical composition of the flawed plating which oxidized differently over the years, preserving the coin in a state of near-uncirculated brilliance despite being lost in circulation for over a decade before it was discovered by a young coin roll hunter in Ohio who initially thought he had found a simple off-center strike until closer inspection with a microscope revealed the doubled elements, inconsistent edge reading, and ultimately led to the authentication of the coin by multiple numismatic experts, one of whom remarked that this 2005 cent was a once-in-a-lifetime fusion of minting disaster and miracle preservation, which sent ripples through the coin collecting world and drove its value at a rare coin auction in Geneva to an unprecedented $124 million following an intense international bidding war between private collectors, a Middle Eastern royal family, and a renowned European museum seeking to add this marvel to their modern currency exhibit. And what makes this story even more compelling is the growing theory that this 2005 cent might be just one of a handful of similar errors minted under the radar that year during a short-lived production anomaly at the Philadelphia Mint, where rumors of experimental planchets being tested without documentation have long circulated among retired mint employees, and if proven true, it could mean that somewhere out there, in jars, drawers, and forgotten coin rolls, lie a few more copies of this enigmatic penny, each potentially worth hundreds of millions, igniting a frenzy of searching among hobbyists and professionals alike, while the original coin remains securely housed in a climate-controlled vault under high security, having become not just a collector's dream but also a symbol of how history, chance, and mechanical imperfection can come together to create an object of such value that it transcends its physical makeup to become a legend. And as we dig even deeper into the coin's diagnostics, we find that even the rim reveals clues to its uniqueness, with uneven pressure during striking causing a lopsided collaring effect that led to subtle ridges on one side and a smoothness on the other, another feature that escapes most casual observers but sends trained numismatists into excitement over the authenticity and improbability of the combination of such rare minting errors coexisting on a single coin, and when combined with the irregular chemical signature, the mismatched dies, the improper annealing, and the experimental reverse design, what you're left with is a coin that in every conceivable way defies the minting norms of its time, a coin that should not exist yet somehow does, and its very existence raises fascinating questions about the oversight at the mint, the unpredictability of mechanical processes, and the serendipity of discovery, because had this coin not survived circulation in such pristine condition, had it not landed in the hands of someone with an eye for detail, had it been lost or melted down like so many of its peers, we would never have known about this astonishing error, and its rise from pocket change to multi-million-dollar artifact is a journey that continues to inspire not just coin collectors, but anyone who believes that even the smallest, most overlooked objects in our world can carry untold stories and unimaginable worth, a reminder that sometimes, the greatest treasures are hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to be discovered and recognized for the remarkable pieces of history that they truly are. Next, 1986 D1 USA coin, hidden treasures come to life and ordinary pocket change reveals extraordinary secrets, and today we bring you the astonishing saga of the 1986 D1 coin that has stunned the numismatic world by skyrocketing in value to an unbelievable $106 million, a penny that started its journey like any other from the Denver Mint but ended up becoming one of the rarest, most valuable, and talked about coins in modern history, a numismatic masterpiece not for its aesthetic perfection but for its bizarre collection of minting anomalies, strange material inconsistencies, striking errors, and jaw-dropping deviations from standard coinage production that have combined to elevate this coin from a mere cent to a monument of minting misfortune and collecting glory. And it all begins with the fascinating context of the year 1986, a transitional period in US minting where lingering issues from prior years had not fully been resolved and newer technologies were just beginning to take hold, creating an environment ripe for unintentional errors and unchecked misprints. And this particular 1986 penny is a perfect storm of everything that could possibly go wrong in the minting process happening all at once, beginning with its most visibly shocking feature, a severe off-center strike that left the obverse image of Lincoln pushed dramatically to the left, with part of his bust nearly cut off at the shoulder and the date itself distorted and barely legible due to the misalignment of the dies during the striking process, a kind of error that alone can command attention but which in this case was just the beginning, because the reverse side bore an even more inexplicable flaw. The Lincoln Memorial was not only misaligned but was partially struck with what appeared to be a reverse die intended for a completely different coin denomination, leading experts to suspect a mismatched die pair was somehow mistakenly used in production, possibly due to human error during a high-pressure production cycle or mechanical confusion within the die-loading machinery at the Denver facility. And if that wasn't enough, further examination of the coin's surface revealed double die characteristics that extended well beyond the typical doubling of legends or dates, instead encompassing significant doubling on Lincoln's eye, mouth, the bow tie, and portions of the memorial columns, doubling so intense and irregular that some speculated it may have been the result of a rare double hubbing error that went undetected due to a miscommunication between mint departments, and metallurgically, the coin is just as baffling, having been struck on a copper-plated zinc planchette as expected for the time, yet tests revealed unusual variances in the composition, including trace levels of tin and nickel that should not have been present in such significant quantities, leading to the belief that the planchette might have originated from a leftover batch of experimental blanks or could have been misfed from a lot designated for foreign currency contracts the mint was quietly fulfilling during that time period, and the planchette itself shows signs of being improperly annealed, with visible heat blistering and patches of discoloration suggesting that it was either overcooked in the annealing oven or that the temperature control mechanisms malfunctioned during processing, leaving behind a mottled surface that over the years oxidized into a unique pattern of color shifts from reddish-brown to hints of violet and blue, making it stand out not only for its errors but also for its unusual and almost artistic visual appearance. And the coin's rim tells its own story of imperfection, displaying an incomplete and uneven collar strike that left parts of the edge smooth while others show crushed or flattened reading marks, pointing again to problems in the striking chamber at the time of minting. And when taken as a whole, the combination of all these features, not just one or two anomalies but a chorus of interconnected mistakes, makes this 1986 D-cent something of a Frankenstein coin, a rogue product of systemic mint failures that somehow escaped all the quality controls, bagging processes, and inspections to enter general circulation. And that's exactly where it remained for over 2 decades until an amateur collector in Arizona, sifting through a jar of coins inherited from his grandfather, spotted something strange and began investigating with a simple loupe, only to discover that this battered little penny held features unlike any other coin he'd seen, setting off a multi-year journey of authentication, metallurgical testing, and historical research that ultimately culminated in the 1986 D-cent being declared one of a kind by several leading grading agencies and collectors' boards, catapulting its value from 1 cent to tens of millions as word spread of its existence, and prominent collectors, museums, and investors began to place aggressive offers to acquire it, culminating in a dramatic bidding war at a Geneva auction house where the coin was sold to a private European buyer for an astounding $106 million, shattering records and sparking new interest in 1980s-era Lincoln cents, which had until then been largely ignored by high-end collectors. And what adds another layer of intrigue to this story is the persistent theory that this coin may be part of a lost experimental batch of error coins that were meant to be destroyed after internal testing at the Denver Mint, possibly slipped into circulation either accidentally or deliberately by a rogue employee. A theory supported by vague references in internal mint memos obtained through FOIA requests that mention a batch of defective cent dies and mismatched hubs being removed from production late in 1986, although no official connection to the surviving coin has ever been formally established, and this air of mystery only enhances the coin's allure, giving it the kind of backstory that fuels obsession in the collecting world, because not only is the coin visually and physically unique, but it also carries with it the unanswered questions of how it came to be, how it survived, and whether there might be more out there waiting to be found, perhaps stashed in someone's childhood coin bank or languishing at the bottom of an old cigar box. And in the years since its discovery, the coin has continued to inspire hope among amateur and professional coin hunters alike, leading to renewed interest in error coins from the 1980s and prompting more rigorous examinations of Lincoln cents from that decade than ever before. Yet none have matched the sheer complexity and intensity of errors found on the 1986 D-cent, a coin that seems to encapsulate every kind of mistake a mint can make, from planchette composition and die pairing to striking pressure and hubbing accuracy, all in a single specimen, and its preservation in such relatively good condition despite all its imperfections has also puzzled analysts, with some theorizing that the odd composition of the coin gave it unusual resistance to wear, while others believe that it was quickly set aside after striking by a sharp-eyed employee who recognized its strangeness and kept it from circulation for years before it eventually passed into the hands of the Arizona collector's grandfather, possibly during a coin exchange or in the form of pocket change. And now that the coin is enshrined in a private high-security collection, its story has become the subject of documentaries, numismatic seminars, and endless debate among experts who continue to marvel at how so many rare attributes could come together so perfectly in one object, creating a coin that is not only valuable but historic, not only collectible but culturally significant, because it represents the thin line between mass production and masterpiece, between a penny intended for purchase of bubble gum and a penny that now rivals the value of fine art and ancient artifacts. And the lesson for collectors is clear: never overlook the small, the simple, the ordinary, because sometimes the most overlooked items can turn out to be once-in-a-lifetime discoveries that rewrite history and set new standards for what is possible in the world of collecting. And so the legend of the 1986 D1 cent piece lives on, inspiring a new generation of treasure hunters, coin roll searchers, and numismatic Dreamers who now know that even the humblest coin can hold a story worth $106 million. Last 1998 D1 cent USA coin. We uncover the most incredible hidden stories behind some of the rarest and most valuable coins in the world. And today we are diving deep into the fascinating and mind-blowing saga of the 1998 D1 cent coin. A coin that has captivated the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Not just because of its rarity or age, but because this unassuming penny has soared to an unbelievable value of $101 million thanks to a series of astonishing minting errors, unexplainable anomalies, and remarkable preservation that have transformed it from everyday pocket change into one of the most priceless and legendary coins ever discovered. And to truly appreciate how a copper-plated zinc penny minted in 1998 at the Denver Mint could command such an astronomical price, we need to examine the unique storm of mechanical malfunctions, chemical irregularities, production mistakes, and historical context that birthed this one-of-a-kind specimen. Beginning with the most immediately noticeable error, which is a sharply defined and highly dramatic double die obverse, a kind of error that occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives two separate but slightly misaligned impressions from the hub during its creation, resulting in the doubling of certain elements on the coin's design. And in the case of this particular 1998 D cent, the doubling is not subtle or limited to the date or lettering, but is instead shockingly visible across Lincoln's entire face, including his nose, lips, jawline, and even the outline of his collar and shoulder, producing a surreal, almost holographic effect that leaps out even to the naked eye, making it one of the most aggressive and dramatic examples of doubling ever recorded on a US coin. And yet this doubled die alone, as impressive as it is, would not be enough to justify a value in the hundreds of millions. But this is just the beginning, because further analysis reveals that this coin was struck on a planchette that was never intended to be used for 1 cent pieces at all, as metallurgical tests revealed that instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition used for 1998 Lincoln cents, this coin contains traces of aluminum, tin, and an unusually high level of nickel, leading experts to believe it may have been struck on a foreign coin blank that was mistakenly fed into the wrong press, or alternatively, that it was an experimental planchette from a short-lived alloy trial that was supposed to be scrapped but somehow made its way into the production line at the Denver Mint, and these materials give the coin an unusual color shift depending on lighting and angle, with hues of silver and pale bronze giving it a ghostly appearance that is immediately distinguishable from typical cents of the era. And this alloy misstrike would have already made the coin immensely valuable as a rare planchette error, but the mysteries and errors continue stacking from there, because when examining the reverse of the coin, collectors were stunned to discover not the expected image of the Lincoln Memorial perfectly centered and sharply struck, but instead a bizarre hybrid image showing remnants of a wheat stalk pattern overlapping with the base of the memorial, a phenomenon believed to be the result of a mismatched reverse die possibly left over from commemorative or retro design testing conducted by the US Mint in secret or stored improperly and reused by mistake, causing the coin to be struck with two incompatible designs. And even more puzzling, the edges of the memorial columns are soft and blurred, lacking the usual clarity of a 1998 strike, suggesting either extreme die wear or a poorly executed die swap that resulted in misalignment and weak pressure distribution during striking. And under magnification, the micro-detailing of the coin reveals another layer of unusual features, including strange pitting on Lincoln's cheek, bubbling near the D mint mark, and striations on the field around the date, all of which are signs of improper annealing or contamination on the die surface, possibly due to exposure to foreign materials or faulty cleaning processes within the mint facility. And collectively these indicators suggest a coin that was minted under highly irregular conditions where quality control was either bypassed or completely failed, allowing multiple layers of error to converge on a single planchette in a way that should have been statistically impossible. And yet this coin somehow made it past inspection, bagging, and shipping to enter circulation, where it remained undiscovered for over 2 decades until it was found by a retired machinist in Colorado who was searching through a coin jar in his garage and noticed the coin's unusual sheen and distorted features, prompting him to submit it to a local coin shop and eventually leading to a chain of authentication that culminated with the coin being examined by a panel of top numismatic experts, all of whom were left stunned by the convergence of rare errors and unanimously declared it to be a once-in-a-century minting phenomenon. And once word of the coin's discovery hit the collector circuit, interest exploded, with offers flooding in from across the globe, including private collectors, historical societies, coin museums, and billionaire investors who saw the coin not just as a collectible but as a piece of American minting history, ultimately resulting in a fiercely contested auction in Hong Kong where the coin was sold for an unprecedented $101 million, making it the single most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold and placing it among the top tier of rare and valuable numismatic items globally. And what makes this coin so enduringly fascinating is not just its price tag but the layers of intrigue and speculation that surround its creation, with theories ranging from unauthorized testing of alternate metals, to a mint worker accidentally or deliberately introducing mismatched dies into the press, to the possibility that this coin was part of a series of clandestine experimental issues meant to test public reaction to alternate designs that were later scrapped, with this one piece slipping through the cracks and surviving to tell the tale. And to this day, no other 1998 D cent with the same combination of errors has ever surfaced, reinforcing the belief that this is a true one-of-a-kind minting anomaly, a perfect storm of errors that turned a penny into a legend. And what adds further intrigue is the pristine condition in which it was found, graded as near mint with only light surface wear and full detail on both obverse and reverse despite being in circulation, which has led some to believe that it may have been quickly pulled from circulation and kept safe for many years before being rediscovered, possibly by someone who noticed its strange appearance but didn't fully understand its value. And with this discovery, collectors around the world have turned their attention to 1998 D cents, hoping to find even the faintest shadow of similar errors, but none have been found to date with anything close to the degree of complexity and rarity as the original. And in the aftermath of the sale, the coin has been featured in countless documentaries, news articles, and collector publications, becoming the subject of lectures and panels at coin shows and numismatic conferences, and its legacy has inspired a renewed interest in error coins and the importance of checking every piece of change because, as this story proves, life-changing treasures can sometimes come in the humblest forms. And for those who once believed that pennies were worthless or insignificant, the story of the 1998 D1 cent is a powerful reminder that value is not always about face value but about uniqueness, history, and the stories embedded in every detail. And now that this coin rests securely in a private museum in Europe under high security, it continues to generate fascination and awe, and its story will undoubtedly be told for generations to come, inspiring collectors, historians, and curious minds to keep searching, keep collecting, and keep believing in the possibility that there are still incredible discoveries waiting to be made. And as we reflect on how such a coin could even come to exist, it forces us to reconsider the systems we take for granted, to acknowledge that even in highly controlled environments, like a national mint, human error, machine failure, or sheer coincidence can produce something rare, something extraordinary, something that becomes a part of history. And that is exactly what the 1998 D cent has become, not just a coin, but a cultural artifact, a representation of the unpredictable beauty of imperfection, and proof that even the smallest object can carry with it a value far beyond what anyone could have imagined when it was first made.